Hey there, how's it going? It's Pete here, and I just wanted to jump onto this video briefly to tell you about a course that I'm running during Advent. So Advent starts on the 2nd of December and brings us right up to Christmas. And in its broadest sense, Advent is about waiting. It is about expectancy. But it's about a very particular type of expectancy. It is about the hope that the infinite will erupt in the finite, that the truth will be enfleshed in our world. Now, from a philosophical perspective, this is fascinating because it's kind of like exploring the openness to the idea that we as finite, frail, fleshly beings might be able to know or encounter truth, the universal, the absolute. And in light of that, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to teach on one of my favourite books by the philosopher and theologian Paul Tillich. It's this book here. It's called My Search for Absolutes. Now, this was originally a series of 4 lectures that Tillich gave to law students in the Chicago School of Law or Chicago University. And it's his last significant work. It was actually published after he died. Those lectures were put together in this book alongside some drawings by Saul Steinberg. So it's actually a very beautiful book, very short, very insightful, and it represents not just his last important work, but actually a great overview of what he was attempting to do throughout his life. And in this book, he has a primary concern. As he's approaching the end of his life, living in America, he is looking at the West and he sees 2 intertwined dangers. On the one hand, there is the danger of totalitarianism or fundamentalism, in which some group claims that they have absolute knowledge. And on the other side, there is a type of relativism in which we say there is no access to facts, truth, or knowledge, and all we have is a type of war of all against all, that we are completely divorced from any sense of the absolute. And Tillich is genuinely concerned about this. He's giving these lectures to these law students because he's kind of saying to those students, you're going to be the front line in attempting to help society avoid both of these cliffs, to try to find a third way through them. And he feels that this is something that is being lost. And in the contemporary world that we live in, I think we can relate more than ever to what Tillich is talking about, with fundamentalisms, totalitarianisms on one side, and kind of complete skepticism about facts and truth on the other. And so in this book, Tillich, in a very clear, concise, and beautiful way, and personal way, talks about a way of thinking about the world where we do not have absolute knowledge, but we're also not cast adrift without knowing anything. In this book, he argues that while we cannot have absolute knowledge, we can have knowledge of the absolute. And this knowledge of the absolute isn't something we argue to. We don't construct arguments to get us to some, belief in some universal truth. Rather, he says that the very pursuit of that, the very attempt to construct arguments, already presupposes our grounding in the truth. What we're seeking, in the passionate seeking, we have already found. And so the book beautifully brings together the idea of seeking and finding, and shows how these are intimately intertwined. And in the book, he does this in 3 ways. After an essay on his personal life, which is a beautiful way of understanding his thinking in terms of his influences and in terms of the way he was brought up. So after this very personal essay, he looks at how we can find a way to navigate the truth in the realm of knowledge, in the realm of morality, and in the realm of the holy. So these are kind of three big areas for Tillich. And he says there are others, like the aesthetic, but he wants to take on those big three. He wants to say, well, how can we find an anchor in terms of our thinking, our way of conceptualizing the world, in terms of science and in terms of philosophy? How can we find an anchor in terms of morality? Respecting the idea that we don't know everything and we can sometimes act unethically, thinking we're acting ethically. How do we anchor ourselves in some way in the midst of that chaos? And then thirdly, in terms of the holy, is there a way of speaking about something that grounds all of reality, that does not mean that we fall into some sort of exclusionary fundamentalism? So that is his aim in this text. His aim is to kind of draw that out. And if you do this course with me, I think you'll get a number of things out of it. The first is you will understand why Tillich sees faith and doubt as intertwined. That doubt and knowledge have this interesting relationship, and that relationship is actually articulated with the word faith, which for Tillich doesn't necessarily mean anything to do with theism or anything like that. It's a broader use of the term. I think also as you read this book with me, you will really grasp what Tillich means by the term God beyond God, one of his famous phrases. And another one of his famous phrases is absolute or ultimate concern. And I think reading this book, you'll understand what he means by ultimate concern. And then you will also, I think, really find a way of articulating and seeing the world which looks at how the passionate desire for truth is actually evidence of the truth being already something that you're grounded in. So those are like various things that I think will become clear as you read this book. And there's 4 chapters, so you can do it over 4 weeks. I will do a talk on each chapter that you'll get over the Advent period. And I would say it would take you 30 minutes to 45 if you read very slowly and carefully the chapter. And then my seminar will be 45 minutes, maybe 60 minutes. So I would say the time commitment will be between an hour and an hour and a half a week. So if you would like to read through this book with me, you will get a PDF of the book when you sign up for the course. Because it's out of print, I'm worried that if a lot of you try to buy it, they'll all disappear. So there's a PDF that you'll get, but I would recommend you pick the book up. It's well worth having. You also, the course is just pay what you can. I don't want there to be any barrier to my work in terms of money, and so I try as much as possible to make my stuff free, or on a pay what you can basis. So money's not a barrier to doing this. If you've got a bit more cash, please do give me what you think a course like this would be worth to you. But if you don't have much, don't worry about it. You can give me as little as 1 cent, and you can be part of it. So thanks very much. Hope you do the course with me, and if you do, I'll talk to you then. Bye bye.